Yeah, the data obviously is the new oil, right? So whatever you can do to mine that and understand that is good. But I think it's got a trickle down effect where it can help with your FAQs. It can also help gather really important and pertinent data about you. So
Right.
before you get to an actual person, when the person makes that connection with you on the phone, they've got the complete history and they understand who you are to that airline,
Yeah.
your travel history, kind of your patterns and things like.
Hi all, welcome to Engati Engage. Today we have the pleasure of welcoming Shane Fogle to our interview series. I'm Drishti Shah from the Engati team, and let's just begin with a quick intro of Engati. Engati is the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform, available across 14 channels with 25,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as a top platform by INC.com, Tech World, CIO, and many others. We run the Engati blog, video channel, and the Engati Engage podcast, receiving upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. And now for our guest, Shane is the digital product owner at CTech Consulting Inc. He is a result driven, focused, and disciplined executive leader who lives at the intersection of business and technology enablement. Shane is passionate about building collaborative and lasting relationships with clients, colleagues, and peers. As an avid collaborator and acknowledged disruptor, he leads and ensures successful delivery, implementation, and operationalization of multiple technologies and services by producing a highly collaborative environment with aligned goals and client satisfaction always at the forefront. So, hi Shane, we are really thrilled to have you on Ingati.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, before we start with the interview, here is a quick announcement that we have something special for all of you. So, I would request you all to just stick around till the end of the interview. So, starting with the first question that I have, that how is the aviation industry going to recover post pandemic, and what is the major transformation that we will be seeing?
So good question. So I think first and foremost, it comes with, the public's awareness and confidence around having accurate testing, contact tracing, as well as a vaccine development. I know that that's a global effort right now, which is fantastic to see everyone around the world working toward a common goal. So I believe that will definitely help get confidence in folks to get back onto commercial aircraft and to begin traveling once again. Unfortunately, not to be bleak, I just don't think that the confidence level is going to be extraordinarily high until we see some of those things start to happen, at least in the public.
Yeah, it's I think people will take time to at least try and commute to different places, and will have to maintain social distancing for a long time, for now at least, maybe for a year minimum.
And that's exactly, and that's very difficult to do inside the cabin of an aircraft. And
Yeah.
so I know that many operators aren't selling middle seats, and I know many operators are doing very heavy disinfectants within the cabin after each flight. I've seen some encouraging data around some testing going on with some UV light that's going on that can come in and literally disinfect the cabin. But end of day, it's still a lot of people in a confined space, which tends to be, based on what we know so far and what we read, where this virus thrives the most.
Yes, that's true. So, uh, you think that like what will be the time span to get to normal? Like, what is the prediction behind that?
In the commercial aviation space, I don't know honestly if it's personally, I don't see the commercial space reaching the levels that it had prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I say that because I think many companies that you guys obviously are engaged with have learned through this lockdown around the globe by no choice of their own. They've all learned how to work better remotely. They've had to figure it out. They haven't had a choice. And so I think many companies are realizing that some travel, particularly business travel, can be avoided in the future. And so I don't quite think it will recover back to the pre-COVID levels. I think it will come back close to those levels. If I had to guess, I would say maybe 80% of those levels. But I think that's 12 months minimum before we start seeing that. It's just, again, it's going to take a long time to build confidence.
That's true. That's true. Completely agree with that. So, coming to customer experience and technology. So, how is technology and AI helping and shaping the customer experience in this industry?
Really, from an AI perspective that blends into the customer experience, I think that the biggest area of opportunity that we see on a consistent basis and actually have the foundation and building blocks in place is with predictive analytics around using AI to help assist the airline to operate more efficiently. So clearly, as I stated a second ago, not seeing the commercial sector coming back as full as it was prior. So not only are you read on the news, every major operator is reducing fleet size, they're parking planes and things like that. A lot of those operators are going to permanently retire some aircraft, and their fleet will be efficiently. And one of the biggest challenges in the commercial airline space is something called an IROP, which is an interruption of operations. That's due to weather, that's due to aircraft failure, equipment failure, et cetera, lack of crew. A lot of different things impact an IROP, but primarily weather is about 90% of it. And so airspaces gets closed and different things like that. So airlines have to figure out ways to which flights do I delay, which do I divert, which do I cancel, how to make those decisions faster. And that's where AI combined with a predictive analytic engine on the back end can present, a human with the most viable options based upon the parameters in which the operator has set on how they want their airline to operate. So that's part one. I think part two gets a little bit of the area that you guys work in is creating more robust interactions, particularly via the online chat. Again, I think the lockdowns, people have gotten a lot more comfortable. We're using Zoom. We use Teams for work. We use GoToMeeting as well at some point. But this new video conferencing and this new sort of interactivity, I think, model is only going to help. And so I think larger operators can clearly take advantage of technologies that you guys offer because the big questions are fairly common. I've got a flight scheduled. I've got a family holiday scheduled. I've got whatever going on. And so as we saw here in Atlanta with Delta, it came out in the news, they had directed a lot of their folks and literally had to almost triple their size of customer service, folks answering the phone and taking those type calls. And so I think where you can find efficiencies in those areas are going to be great areas of opportunity, both to help increase the efficiency for the operator, but also impact the customer experience in a positive way at the same time.
Yes, that's true. So, conversational intelligence and chatbots especially are like a huge benefit in this industry and sector. So, what is the current state of adoption in the aviation industry?
I think it varies. I think you see, just like with any business, you see certain operators that are extremely customer focused. There are a couple of operators here in the United States that are more about their brand versus just being an airline. And they're more about the experience, right? The whole experience from booking until you board, fly, deplane, and take your bag and go on your way. Other operators are a little bit more commoditized. It's just, hey, here's the flight, here's the ticket price, you pay for it and board. I think you see the adoption rate higher on the brands who tend to be more brand and customer centric.
Yes.
And no disrespect to those that aren't, right? But there are varying classes of service within the brands of those commercial operators, particularly in the United States.
Yeah.
And so I think for those, you see a higher adoption rate of that and a higher willingness to explore the use of that, right, to help improve the experience.
Yes. And also I think that it somehow helps in customer centricity, and also for the flight companies to have a data, like suppose keeping track on inquiries coming to the chatbot in a particular season. So when if there's a year gone by, so we can just, or the companies can just go through that data and see whether there was a peak in some season, or like no demand in some season, and maybe have a variation for prices or offers or something like that. So it like happens or works both ways, I guess.
I agree with you, and I think it also helps to, yeah, the data obviously is the new oil, right? So whatever you can do to mine that and understand that is good. But I think it's got a trickle down effect where it can help with your FAQs. It can also help gather really important and pertinent data about you. So
Right.
before you get to an actual person, when the person makes that connection with you on the phone, they've got the complete history and they understand who you are to that airline,
Yeah.
your travel history, kind of your patterns and things like that. Of course, they all have frequent flyer programs, so they can tell right away your status, which obviously
Yeah.
lets them know the amount of time in which you fly with them. But more importantly, it can tell them about you and your particular need, right? So again, you get a little more of a personalized service level versus just say, how may I help you today?
Yeah. That like really helps. And also I've seen like people just go on Twitter, and if they have a grievances or maybe some problems, so they just tweet it, and the flight companies are very responsive there. So I think it helps in building customer relationships
Mhm.
better when some automation tools are used. So
And the same can be said for the enterprise operations that's not customer facing, where the enterprise IT organization's customer is the employee base, and you've got an ITSM system in place, such as ServiceNow, perhaps.
yeah.
And if you can front end that with some intelligent work as well, right?
Yeah.
Common things, right? Password resets, IP addresses, various things like that, which typically can be a little mundane to someone on the end of a phone line for
Yes.
support. Things like that, I think, are opportunities as well for a product like your guys to come in and make a positive impact, because they do have the external facing customers and the internal facing customers, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. So uh, So data is crucial, like we talked about. So it is very crucial for the survival of the aviation industry. So what future capabilities will we see with AI and technology?
I think we're going to start seeing more from a customer experience side, that operators enterprise. I think those are going to be the things that are going to benefit customers. So smoother operations, less disruptions, less interruptions within their operation. I think we're going to continue to see, as you saw here in Atlanta, Delta Airlines rolled out facial recognition
Hmm.
in their international terminal, right? So to help speed up the check-in process and to make that process a little bit more smooth and streamlined, I think we're going to continue to see those type technologies get pushed down as close to the consumer edge as possible. Clearly, the other big thing is the 5G is starting to really become a worldwide standard, and networks here, particularly in North America, are rolling that out. So that's going to enable your phone to do a lot more than it could prior, right? So I see some of those different things getting pushed out to the handset.
Yeah.
Already today, and I can't tell you the last time I printed a paper boarding pass. I mean, it's in the app. Every major airline has it. I've got my boarding pass on the phone. You turn it upside down at the security stand. It beeps. You ring through, and you're off to the races. So I think I see more of that happening. And again, that gets back to the fact where these operators are almost going to have to begin looking at accelerating those models,
Hmm.
because I think customer standards are going to continue to rise. Is it our
Yes.
expectation? It's like, what do you mean you don't have a mobile app, right? I mean, think about that, right? I mean, and so you expect it to do more. Another carrier that I flew pre-COVID-19, they've got a real-time baggage tracker within their app. So it tells you when your bag is taken off the plane, when your bag is on its way to the belt, when it's, being loaded on.
Yeah.
Um, People love that level of information and, and interaction. And I think from the operator's perspective, that gives them touch opportunities, right? And so that just, the positive experience just continues to grow. So, but on the back end, you've got to have the analytics. You've got to have that. You've got the data. You've got to know what to do with that data to
Yeah.
how better enable an enterprise to operate more efficiently. So that's the challenge.
Yeah. And like it helps with personalization on a very very great level. Like now it's very easy for me to get any data about if I am getting my luggage replaced or stolen. Like it's easy to track, which was not the case before. So I think it helps a lot with the customer experience right now.
Agreed. And that's where the airlines, I think, once we start seeing things move back and people start to fly again, I think those are going to be some of the differentiators. Certainly in the United States, a lot of times where you live helps dictate who you can fly, right? Based on where you're going. But if you live in a larger city, like I'm in Atlanta, if you live in New York, Dallas, out in the West Coast, you have a lot of different choices. And I think customers are going to be a little more selective and more informed. And I believe those type experiences are going to help certain brands become even stronger, maybe than what they were before.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So coming back to the COVID situation that we are right now in, so regarding work from home for technical professionals, so can tactical work get done in these current times, or is there a way to make innovation and strategic collaboration possible right now?
I, I can speak from personal experience. So, as a product owner, we are in the development phases of a new product that we intend to have launched in the fourth quarter. It surprisingly, what some of us felt might pose some challenges around. We deliver everything in an agile methodology, so we wondered how stand-ups would be remote. We had usually worked where we would have about 75% of the team face to face and only a handful remote, particularly in sprint planning and sprint reviews, right? So those are the two major activities that happen inside of the software development cycle for our firm that we usually like everyone involved. And so we were forced, because of COVID-19, we were forced to kind of perform that the way we're doing this today. And so I think what it did in many ways, actually, it benefited us because our software development manager had gone out and found a couple of really nice virtual whiteboard tools to use with virtual Post-it cards, just like we would do in a normal sprint planning meeting on a physical wall. And, we had the entire development team up, had me as a product owner and the delivery lead up, and we went through and we built out the epic, and we built the stories for this service and broke the work down and began doing sprint planning. Our scrum master got, engaged as he normally would. So we've, as a matter of fact, just Tuesday of this week, we had a debrief with our executive team, and the overwhelming feedback was we actually got better participation from some of our developers than we've seen in the last 2 years. It possibly being in their home and just being behind the video camera, they were a little less apprehensive to really talk in more detail about their particular work effort within the project, their capabilities, and a little more eager. I can do this, I can do that. And so we started to see a lot higher level of collaboration, which some people might think you would see diminished. Ours went up. And so we're excited personally. And of course, we're looking forward. Our offices are tentatively scheduled to open up on June 15th. And so some of us may go back in the office on the leadership team. But by and large, we like what we see happening right now within the development team. So it's been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I think people who have embraced technology before, or were using the digital platforms or were on cloud, So I think those people collaborated much better than the people who had to do it like very quickly, and they just had to manage it and go about it. So I think people who had already embraced that phase that digitalization or maybe working from home is not a no totally. So I think they have
Mhm.
been better and have got better results.
From a psychological perspective, I think a lot of the guys and young ladies realize that they can get a lot more accomplished. And I think also from the leadership team, we had to ensure that they were empowered to understand that you're now home, and many have families,
Yeah.
and many have family obligations. And so you've got your work to do. And so, again, what we found over these last couple of months are we have a lot of folks who we always get together on a daily stand up, obviously, but we have folks that just tend to work whatever hours
Hmm.
are working best for them. And so I will get in and check in on in line for a couple of hours, writing code. And then they'll be offline for a few hours in the late morning, early afternoon. And then they're back online again, and they may be online until 10, 11 o'clock at night. But what that's doing is that's giving them a really good cycle of work, a little break, maybe to do some homeschooling with the kids, whatever the case may be, and then come back to it, and maybe dinner, and then come back to it again. And so, again, I think their productivity, what we're seeing from a story point perspective, um, we're crushing it. It's great, right? When you take away the commute to the office and time that we would consider sort of wasted time,
Hmm.
here in the Atlanta area, we don't have a lot of public transportation, so many people are driving to and from,
Yeah.
and so they're saving that hour and a half, 2 hours a day doing that,
Yeah.
where they can work, and they can work the hours that fit them. And so, but I think it's bilateral. I think
Hmm.
leadership has to recognize that,
Yeah.
and create that environment so that they feel safe.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of people, I joke and say, we've pulled the hoodie back, right? So we have a lot of folks that never in a million years would have been comfortable on a video camera now, that whenever we start our stand up, everybody's got their cameras on, and it's cool. It's been good to see that. And I
Yes.
think that has translated over to their creativity, and the collaboration has been fantastic.
Yes.
But it takes tools to enable that, right? So
Yes.
without Teams and without GoToMeeting, it'd be a different story, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely. We are actually, we can consider ourselves lucky that we are not 50 years behind this. And like, if we had Corona back then we wouldn't have been this productive. Like today, we have social media, and it just takes a motivation to start getting productive and adopt a skill. So it's just you as a barrier if you are not doing it, but everything on earth is available for you.
agree. It does come down to personal responsibility. I think it also comes down to, we've had a core team now together for about 18 months. And so they've been used to working with one another. Everyone understands their skill sets. Everyone understands their gaps and kind of how to fill those. And so, again, you just have to create, it's the Agile Manifesto. You've got to create that servant leadership model. And yeah, let's be willing to fail, right? Because that's how we learn.
Yes, definitely. So, uh, any other thoughts that you'd like to leave our audiences with?
I think really just, again, post COVID, I think we're really going to see a lot of the technology companies shifting to more of the customer's perspective and understanding more, having, I guess the word that would be best applicable is more empathetic toward that customer experience.
Yeah.
And again, that a lot of that goes back into like the tools you guys have. It's taking those tools, understanding how to leverage and implement those tools properly.
Mm.
Um, Prior to this, I saw a lot of software consumption, and we're using this, and we're using that. But if you don't understand how to use it, and if you don't understand the implications of a positive or negative experience. And a lot of that comes down to us on the call right now. You guys are experts in that. And so it's my past life in working for a security firm. We made fantastic security tools, but it takes the human element to understand how to implement those, how to deploy those, and how to operate those. You just can't go buy it. That would be like me buying a Ferrari and expecting to be able to drive it as fast as a Formula One driver, right? I'm never going to get out of the car what they can. And so I think that's kind of one of the lessons. And I think the other lesson is understanding fragility. We saw just how quickly, particularly in the United States, how fragile the economy can be when you turn it off. You know, millions, 30 something, I don't know the latest number. It's staggering of unemployment and different things like that. So I think it will help bring about a sense of resiliency and thinking about, what if another COVID similar comes along? How can we better prepare for that and plan for that? But in many ways also, on the positive side, again, as what we're doing now, and I talked about with my development team, companies have learned that we can do this and we can operate. We just have to, maybe we weren't as willing to embrace these operational models prior. We didn't have a choice when this came along, and now we've done it, and it's been a couple of months and we're getting comfortable with it. So we're already having talks that once normal comes back, we're going to change a lot of our philosophy around that. And I don't think our company is unique in that.
That's right. That's right. So thank you.
No, it's been great. Thank you for inviting me. This has been a good call.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us your time. And I think your insights and were really valuable, and the audience will really enjoy this interview.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you all have stuck around for this long, we are excited to announce that our ebook, The Evolution of Customer Experience, is out and available to download. So you all can check the link in the description below for more details. We'll be back with a new episode with a brand new expert soon, so stay tuned. Thank you so much.